Everybody. This is Sharmeen Ziauddin on the Let's Talk About It show. You're listening to Ramadan Radio 87.9 FM on ramadanradio.org and streaming live on Facebook. You just need to search Ramadan Radio London and you'll see the Facebook stream. Please leave comments and questions in the comment section. We are talking about moon sighting today. So, although today's show is about moon sighting, the hope is that it might aid us towards some unity. So since my teens, I can remember having a different Eid to some of my friends at school, and not a lot has changed. In fact, it's become more of a loaded subject. I've spoken to so many people in London, and everybody wants unity, and we want to start Ramadan and Eid on the same day, at least if you're in the same city, let alone country. So I want to start with a verse from the Quran, from Surah Al-Imran, verse 103. And Allah says, "And hold firmly to the rope of Allah all together and do not become divided. And remember the favor of Allah upon you when you were enemies and he brought your hearts together and you became by his favor brothers." So many of us have become very confused about what to do, who to follow. Should we follow the science? Should we listen to mosques who have started to do their own moon sighting? Or should we just follow our local mosque who generally announces Eid after waiting for Saudi to announce it? Or should we follow the nearest Muslim country if there's some sort of discrepancy? Or should we look for the moon ourselves? Well, my guest today might be able to answer some of these questions. We have Samira Mian, lead moon sighter for New Crescent Society. Welcome, Samira. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on and joining us. Hopefully you can answer. I've got loads of questions for you.
Inshallah. I'll try my best.
Okay, so you're part of New Crescent Society.
Yes.
So tell me about New Crescent Society. How did you get involved and what's it all about?
Well, I became involved by chance, and I was supposed to pick up something from somebody, and they suggested that I meet them at this moon sighting event at a hill really close to where I live. It's a really beautiful location that's called North Ala. So it was I think it was New Crescent Society's first moon sighting event at this location. And when I went, I was like, this is such a gift, to have something so beautiful right on our doorsteps. So then I can't remember if we sighted the moon or not that particular month, but so from September 2018, I've been going every single month. So come rain or shine, whatever the weather, whether we have a positive or a negative sighting, there's a kind of a bunch of us that have been going and trying to sight the moon. There's a real sense of community, and there's a real sense of dedication to try and, do this thing. And with it comes this beauty that we're experiencing. I think anyone who's sighted the moon can kind of attest the same. That is such a wonderful feeling. And, these are signs from Allah. We're often said to look at, the moon, the sun, and the objects in the sky, to remember Allah. So it felt very powerful, very strong. And then as New Crescent Society, evolved from Imad, Ahmed, and became more of a team, then I kind of got involved a little bit with the social media, a little bit with training, a little bit here, a little bit there. And, what I was thinking about this when you asked, why am I working with them, or why are we working together? I just think as a collective, they're really nice people. We don't know each other that well, but all my interactions with everybody, with Imad, with the other brothers, and there's a few sisters too, they're just really positive and respectful and sincere. Like, we want to do this thing and we want to educate people and we want to share this joy. And, along the way, we're human. People have these difficult interactions. There are lots of difficult conversations, but genuinely it's that sincerity that I really connect with. So I hope that comes across when we speak to people beyond, and, as we grow and kind of speak to more and more Muslims.
So when you say moon sighting event, it's just people getting together on every month to sight the moon.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. And sorry, I was going to say Imad Ahmed, he's the founder and director of New Crescent Society, right? Just for anybody who doesn't know. Cool. So can you tell me the hadith for local moon sighting?
Well, better than the hadith, I'm going to turn to the Quran, right?
Yeah,
So,
even better, even
exactly.
better.
So, I've written it down because I'm going to forget these things. So, Surah Baqarah, ayah or verse 189, it says they ask thee about the ahilla. So, ahilla is the plural for hilal, and hilal is the new crescent. So, we have moon phases, and we think about the new moon as the zero invisible moon. So this is idea that the moon is illuminated for us to see. At some point it will reach a conjunction, which means basically it's invisible to the human eye, and then as it moves in orbit, then it becomes visible, and that's the backward sea of a new crescent. And the fact that there's this word ahilla in the Quran, they ask thee, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, about the ahilla. I was like, that's really powerful. And that they are markers for mankind and for the Hajj. And I just thought, we have the sun to allow us to pray on time and sort of determine the times of our prayer. And we have the moon to determine our days of the month. And the phases, when you get to know the moon, you don't just go out to see it for the new crescent. You get to know and see, that it goes through these phases. When the full moon is. It really does feel like markers for us. Like, for example, the sunnah of fasting on the white days, which are the full moon days. It's so in sync. So, I was thinking like the story of, or just thinking about this. So on the 13th or 13th night, the 14th night, you can go out, you can see the moon. And because the calendar starts from, or the day starts from the day before, the night before, from Maghrib, you can say, oh, yes, it's a full moon, I shall fast tomorrow. Like, we can be so connected with the science of it and the experience of it. It's really compatible. And then also in Surah Yasin, verse 39, and for the moon, we have determined for it phases until it returns like an old date stalk. When you Google pictures of old date stalk, it's literally like a slither of a branch that's dried up and curved like a crescent moon. So again, I feel this is, there's so much imagery in the Quran that, comes alive. And then when we can compare that date stalk to the crescent and viewing it, it's powerful.
So the new moon is actually an invisible moon. We call it new moon, but I guess it does confuse a lot of people. So when it's the new moon, that's not when you're going to see it. It's the next day that you're going to see it. Right. How do you actually, can you explain to us how you actually sight the moon? Like, where are you supposed to look? And what are you looking for?
It's really simple. This is the key thing. And just imagine, take away all your technology and put yourself in the middle of a desert sort of thing. Okay. So, you can do this wherever you might be. So you will watch the sunset. You will know its position where it hits the horizon. Okay. And then you wait. You wait a good amount of time for you to pray your Maghrib. And then as the sky darkens, the moon will become visible. Now, for us in the UK, it becomes visible to the left of the sunset. And if you think about all these objects in the sky, they kind of travel in a left to right motion. I'm doing it backwards, I think, for the screen, but they're traveling left to right. So you'll see the sunset, and then you'll see the moon set. And so that window of opportunity only comes about when you have a hilal, when you have a crescent. You don't see it when it's zero illumination. So it's really compatible with the experience of sighting it, whether you've got technology or not. And so when we were up on the hill, quite often we're holding up our phones because we've got apps that show us whereabouts it is, and we're holding up our compasses on our phones. Literally everything's technology. But the technology is enabling us to experience it. Whereas if you think of a new moon, the conjunction of it, you don't exactly know when it is, except by data, not by experience. Whereas this is by data and by experience. So it's a very powerful concept.
No, it sounds not as difficult as I thought. So what about bad weather? Because it rains a lot here, especially in parts of northern England or even further north if you go to Scotland, Highlands. Like, how does that play into it all?
Well, I mean, we've experienced much bad weather in North Isla, and it is a difficulty. So what's been happening is, what we found is, because all the different locations of people sighting, it's not cloudy over the UK all of the UK all the time. So, you get an idea of the cloud coverage, and then you can see that there's certain places where you might be able to sight them. So if we have a region, so the United Kingdom as our region that we will act collectively to sight the moon, and if we have enough people sighting, we will sight it. Now, weather or bad weather isn't unique to the United Kingdom. I think since Imad, the director of NCS, has been in Bangladesh, he's really firsthand experienced how, they have bad weather and they just carry on, because the system is actually very simple. Your 12 months of the lunar month, the Islamic calendar, has 29 or 30 days. And the process, the decision making is really simple. If you don't see it on the 29th, so a negative sighting on the 29th, that means you just complete to 30 days. And quite often you won't see on the 29th, and you don't expect to see on the 29th because, you've got the data and the moon visibility curve isn't hitting the United Kingdom. So you don't expect to see it, but you're completing that sunnah of trying to observe the coming month. But it's really simple. You go out on the 29th, you don't see it, and then you complete the month to 30 days. Now, the thing that's really good to do anyway is to go out on the 30th as well, because then you get to experience and welcome in the month. So for Ramadan, we went out on the Tuesday. We went out on the Monday, but we didn't do the live stream and so on for that. And we didn't see it, and we didn't expect to see it. But then we went out on the Tuesday, and we did expect to see it, and we did see it. And oh my gosh, it was such a real, beautiful way to experience Ramadan. And as people are coming out of lockdown, there was a lot of people, and we'd had to really space out, and it was, subhanAllah, really beautiful. And I think if anybody and everybody could experience that and welcome our, most important month of the year, every month of the year like that, I think they'd be sold.
No, it sounds lovely, especially when it's obviously the month of Ramadan, which is so important and obviously we're completely different for that month compared to the rest of the month. So it's very important. How can people get involved if they want to do the moon sight? I mean, can they just do it from their house? Do you have to go to a specific location?
So one of the many gifts of lockdown was the fact that people started discovering that they could, see things from their windows, from their loft windows, from their apartments. So all you need to do is basically have a good view of the western horizon. So that's where the sun will be setting. And through the year, it doesn't set exactly at, pointing west 270 degrees every sort of month of the year. It sort of goes either side of it. And you get to know this from moon sighting, because you then are saying, oh, well, it was over here last winter, now it's over here. So you get to notice it. But it is a kind of a range within which it will set. And so as long as you can see that, you can then sight the moon. And what also is very useful is you could try and sort of go out the day before and see if you can see it and so on. Or any time, any day of the month, really. But what's really useful is to use apps to figure out if you can see it. So say you think, oh, I think there's a good hill or high location near me. You can look at apps. It's called, there's one called stellarium.org. And you can just kind of simulate the horizon and the situation to see if you can see it. So again, the idea of the science and the experience being so harmonious, I just feel really reassured by that, because it's they back each other up.
So what is the aim of New Crescent Society? What are you guys aiming to do?
I think it's on two levels. So one, I think it's a real powerful idea for us as a community to connect with our cosmos. I think about this, right? So for millennia, all cultures, all civilizations have somehow connected with the moon, the sun. Some of the oldest objects that we know of somehow are connected to a solar year, or to I was going to say equinoxes and such things. But we need to connect to our cosmos. I think it's really important. We in the 21st century should be that connected with our cosmos. So that's one thing. And secondly, to bring unity, because I think this idea of moon sighting, it will never go away because it's so beautiful, and it's once experienced, I think it's one that you can't let go of. So to receive your first sort of idea that Ramadan is starting from an app or from a phone, or from, you know, like I was saying, who's the first thing or person to wish me Eid Mubarak or Ramadan Mubarak? It's Tesco's. Like, you know, it shouldn't be these entities. It should be, you know, me, my friends and family spotting the halal, seeing the halal, and being able to welcome in the month. So firstly, yet to connect us to this experience, and secondly, to work towards an Islamic calendar for the United Kingdom. And I think it's, you know, from the conversations that are happening over the years, I found that they're becoming better informed. People are talking far more knowledgeably. I think also they're experiencing it, and their passion for it comes across. So it feels as though we're in, you know, working towards something that inshallah we can experience in the United Kingdom that many countries experience.
So when you say a UK calendar,
yeah,
what do you mean exactly?
you know, like we need an Islamic calendar for our spiritual kind of year, right? So we need it for our for Ramadan, for our 2 Eids, and also through the month. If, say, you would like to follow the optional fast, you'd like to know when they are. So you've got this idea that we can have a calendar, and we've had moon sighting, and I think for nearly, it's coming up to 4 years. It'll be in September, where the data is there, and we've been, you know, working on you know, we've had enough sightings to have a calendar, and it would give us the dates of the Islamic year in our kind of in our lives.
Yeah. Okay. If anybody's just joined us, I'm talking to Samira Mian from New Crescent Society, and this is ramadanradio.org. Well, we're Ramadan Radio, but you can listen to us on ramadanradio.org and streaming live on Facebook and on 87.9 FM. Right. So what do we do? Like, if our local mosque doesn't do moon sighting, we want to do moon sighting, and we've noticed that there's a difference between what our local mosque is saying and what the moon is saying. So most people, like you're saying, you know, are now a bit more well informed over the years, and for the sake of unity, we just follow our local mosque. Like, how do we get past this issue?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, this is a difficult conversation. This is a difficult period, and when we think to sighting or the beginning of Ramadan, often it's quite disheartening. It's quite stressful to sort of sit there, you know, the day before and think, is it, isn't it? And then wait for news. And sometimes it's news that you do or don't want. Then you hear from your family. So it is a very difficult time. And I think one thing that is so important is these difficult conversations need to be had respectfully and like with good manners, because you will never come to a solution if, you know, we're going to be you're wrong, I'm right. And actually, to be honest, everyone's position is correct. Everyone could say there's a fatwa or a leader that has, you know, guided them to say this is acceptable. There is no, I would say, wrong. That would not be fair on any Muslim in the United Kingdom. So we're living within this interim period, or, you know, where the system's not quite right. So during this period, the other thing I would say is, if you want to follow your local mosque, then do. If you want to find a mosque where it's following new the local calendar and the local sighting, then do that. And I think the actual difficulty is in our families, you know, to have these discussions and to decide when you're going to celebrate together. That's the hardest part, you know, for me, because, you know, you don't want to be that, you know, difficult person. So I think what I'd say is really follow your heart as to what is the best way for you in your situation. There's not a wrongness or wrong answer. And if you feel strongly towards establishing this calendar and kind of working with your masjids, then ask them about their process and ask them about their decision making, ask them about their announcements and what they are following, what their kind of criteria is, and have these discussions so that they know that there's an interest and there's a demand to kind of work towards, you know, something which is unifying, a calendar based on the local visibility. And also, I think people want a predictable calendar. And, we've all had that difficult time when we say to work, well, either Monday or Tuesday that I'm off. I'll tell you later, mystery. But, but actually, this calendar has proven to be quite predictable as well. So I think it's got built into it the features that people are after, and that experiential sort of sighting the moon, the fact that, you can predict it as well. It's all kind of, I think it ticks all the boxes. And although we're going to have difficult conversations, it's time to kind of be patient as well.
Is it scientifically possible to have Eid on the same day across the world?
No, sorry, not at all. So, okay, let's consider this. So visualize you are living in Malaysia, Australia, somewhere in that region. Okay, you look at your sunset. And then you wait for the moon. You do not sight it. You go to sleep, or you pray, then you go to sleep, right? And then, as we travel through the time zones, you'll hit the United Kingdom. And we did the same. We don't see it either. Then you'll get to the west coast of the USA. And this is where it was first sighted for Ramadan, actually. And imagine how many hours has passed. So if you were in Malaysia, maybe it's 3, 4, 5 a.m. and somebody has sighted the moon. So you've missed your Tarawih prayer. You might be able to fast. So there's always going to be a kind of a delay, a kind of a lag between sighting it, and the first people to sight it will always be towards the Hawaii and the west coast of the USA, but the time they sight it is their Maghrib. And we would miss out on the opportunity of sighting the moon if we started with them based on a calculation. So ideally, when the moon is visible in your time zone, so your Maghrib, you will then get to experience it and do it. And the delay is, either you'll do it on Tuesday or Wednesday, like it was this year. That's it. It's not feasible to have it even more stretched out.
Okay, so London is horrifically disunited. You can have like 2 mosques on the same within 1 mile doing different days. It's just really funny and sad at the same time.
It is sad. I find it really sad.
I mean, do you know why certain mosques always start a day after Saudi? Do they do local moon sighting, or are they following Pakistan? And do they believe Pakistan is doing local moon sighting? Like, what is going on?
Yeah, it's really interesting to have this idea about starting a day late. Because they're not
after.
Yeah, exactly. But no, for my own emphasis, it's good to, this is language that we've heard about.
Right.
And when we say, Pakistan, they don't know, I don't know what moon they're sighting, but that kind of idea. And we talked about this briefly for yesterday, that maybe we've grown up with this idea that people who are starting later are doing something wrong, or maybe there's a little bit of mockery, and that's really bad. But actually what they're doing is they're waiting for the moon to be in their locality and sighted. And when you look at the visibility curve, it's kind of, we're visualizing, so imagine a backwards C kind of creeping across the globe from the west, and that, because we're quite north, we are quite in line with the Indian subcontinent, so it would not be that unusual for us to start as on the same day as them. This idea also, what I think is happening is people are having different rulings for when they start. So a neighboring country, any country, calculation, the sighting of the moon in Saudi. So there's a number of kind of ways to kind of start your month. But I think the one that, works for me, obviously, is the one that if we sight it locally.
Okay, so say everybody in the UK decides to sight the moon locally.
Yeah.
By some miracle.
Inshallah. Optimistic.
But then somebody in London sees it, and then someone in Newcastle says, no, that you can't, we don't see it, we're gonna wait another day. I mean, even if we all sight it locally, isn't there going to be disunity anyway because of weather and lots of issues?
Well, if we decide we're all part of a region, so we've experienced this. So maybe a year or a year and a half ago, the only place that could sight it was Scotland. And by chance, I had a friend studying in her halls of residence, she could see the moon. And that month, that was the only location where it was sighted. But if people across the region are going to buy into the system and say, if it's sighted anywhere in our region, which is, say, the United Kingdom, we will accept that as a sighting, and we will accept that as a sighting for us and for the whole area. So it's about working together and kind of being part of this collection. And sometimes it will be visible in Scotland, sometimes it'll be another corner, for example, Cornwall and so on, and sometimes by weather it'll be, Birmingham will be, better off than London. So it will be different regions of the collective region, but working together and having enough sighters. And oh my gosh, this number of sightings and number of sighters has really increased. So it feels so like palpable and real that we can do this, because we can see the weather and then we can say, okay, we need sighters and such, and they're there, they exist. They've kind of bought into the idea and want to have a go.
Okay, that makes sense. So you guys provide there's training videos and things on your website. Like who's funding?
Well, we're all volunteers. So this is the thing, we're all doing it in our spare time and around our jobs and lives and family. So it's a free setup. There's no we don't require any money from anybody, and we just give our time and efforts for the cause, basically. In terms of training and so on and learning more, we've got kind of, I feel like, multiple prongs on this. So social media is really powerful. Doing the lives are really powerful. So whether that's Facebook or whether that's Instagram. So if people don't know about us, New Crescent Society, you can find us on Facebook and on Instagram. And then we have Zoom live training. And they're really very powerful, because then we're able to connect with people and individuals in a way that kind of gets into the people in their location. So one of the features of the training is that you are put into breakout rooms with people in your region, and then you can like speak to each other about locations and experience, and also join a WhatsApp group, so that you can then connect. So for Northala, how many years ago, I set up a WhatsApp group. So that's one WhatsApp group that's part of a whole kind of network of them. So kind of getting involved through social media and joining the Zooms, joining the WhatsApp groups. And they're really nice WhatsApp groups. I don't know, we don't have much spamming. We have literally geeking out on astronomy and Islam, and really healthy discussions. And you set an environment, you set a kind of how we're going to be doing this, and it's really nice. I do love my Northala WhatsApp group.
Where is Northala?
Oh, well, let me tell you. So A40, you're heading out of London west, and when you get to Northolt, you will see a McDonald's. But before you'll see the McDonald's, you'll see 4 man-made hills on your left-hand side. And these man-made hills...
I thought you were talking about somewhere up north.
So Northala is the Roman name for Northolt. So this used to be like a disused airport, I was going to say. It was like a runway. It was really rubbish.
Yeah, it was RAF Northolt near there.
Well, that's over there somewhere else, but it was just basically disused land.
Right.
So when Westfield was built and when Wembley was rebuilt, all the rubble, I mean, I'm sure it's more, there's other words for it, were used to build these amazing sculptured cylinders. Cylinders? No, cone shaped hills.
Right. Okay.
It's really beautiful. Yeah.
Wow, I've never heard of it. Okay, so do other countries have this issue that we have in the UK? I mean, we're quite a small country compared to other countries in the world, but do they have certain issues like this?
Well, I mean, the countries to look to for solutions is one thing. I'm sure other countries have it. If I go to, for example, moonsighting.com, it's got many countries and the announcements, and sometimes you'll have multiple announcements for the countries. But the countries that seem to have great systems are South Africa. So they're relatable in a way because it's a minority Muslim community in a non-Muslim majority country, and they've been moonsighting for, I want to say, hundreds of years, but they've got this but since the Muslims have been in that land, they've been sighting. So it's a very successful, well-established local moon sighting. Morocco does local moon sighting, and they have a kind of an announcement that they make by fax. I think people might have seen this famous fax from Morocco based on their local moon sighting. Bangladesh also has a successful moon sighting setup. So, the countries that have difficulties, I think there's probably plenty, and the solutions are different. So some countries just blanket go for calculations. I think Turkey is an example of that. But whatever it is that brings together this idea that everybody in that country is celebrating at the same time is really effective and powerful. So I think South Africa is a really good kind of model for us to duplicate.
I heard in Canada there was some there's the same issue we have here, or started to have the same issue that we have here. And I know America's very united. They have one sort of, I think it's North America something, and
I thought so too, but then I saw local moon sighting in North America, and then I got confused.
Maybe they've started local moon sighting, but they generally tend to follow Saudi, wait for their announcements and do it. I think, might be wrong, so don't quote me on that. Okay, so look, let's talk about Hajj, right? Because we watch Hajj, and we've, as we mentioned earlier, we have a little go at because I have a Pakistani background, and we poke a little fun at the Pakistanis that Hajj is this day, and you're like, or Eid is this day, and you're not celebrating Eid, but Hajj has happened, so why are you not celebrating Eid? And in fact, it's the same issue, isn't it? Again, their month started later.
Exactly. So the thing is, if we kind of take our digital global world out of it and think, if we didn't know what was going on in Saudi Arabia, and we didn't know that Hajj was taking place on such and such day, we would still be able to celebrate Eid al-Adha according to our sighting. Now, like the features of the month, the acts of pilgrimage, the day of Arafah, and so on and so forth, these are for the pilgrims, right? So the actions required in the month or for Hajj for them as pilgrims aren't necessarily the same for us. They, please correct me if I'm wrong, but Eid al-Adha is not for the pilgrims. They're doing something else that day, right? And we're doing Eid al-Adha. So this idea of the pilgrims doing something and us has somehow, I think, merged together because our world's shrunk. And then from it comes a few kind of maybe misconceptions, but they're actually, can be separated out to what is the sort of events for the pilgrim and what are the events for the non-pilgrim. That's my understanding.
Sense. Yeah, no, that does make a lot of sense.
But I have to kind of do my apologies.
Yeah, because we fast and the pilgrims don't fast.
Yeah, so there's lots of things that they have to do that we don't do, and they do them on certain days, and we're doing slightly different things on those days. So I forget half the detail of life. So if I'm saying something wrong, then forgive me. But basically, that's my understanding, that pilgrims are doing something different to us as non-pilgrims.
Yeah, I think it's I think it is because we watch Hajj on TV, which we never used to be able to do, and so it's very much apparent that this is the day of Arafah, and we fast on that day. Oh, and we've got somebody joining us, so that's quite nice. We have Imad Ahmed, who is director and founder of New Crescent Society. Assalamu alaikum, Imad.
Wa alaikum salam, Sharmeen, and good to see you again, Samira. I was listening to you in the background. I'm actually currently in Bangladesh, and I've been stuck here somewhat due to coronavirus. And it was wonderful listening to all the things you were saying. I don't even know why I'm on this show, because Samira has explained everything much better than I could. But I just want to do something, maybe blasphemous, I don't know. But I have here a glass of water. Okay. Now, in the UK, I don't know what time it is, but if I was to drink this glass of water right now, Bismillah, your fast is coming to an end. But I'm not fasting according to the sun of the UK. I'm fasting according to the sun of my locality. I watched the sunset. I heard the Maghrib Azan. And we fasted according to our sun. And so from a New Crescent Society perspective, something Samira said right at the beginning is we're connecting our community to the cosmos. If we're not fasting according to our moon, just as it would be absurd for me to try and fast according to the UK's sun, it wouldn't make sense. There's an aspect of us being disconnected from the moon. And once you connect to the moon, you start realizing it doesn't make sense. I'm following the moon of another country. None of that makes sense. So sorry to come in so dramatic and coming late, but I've just done iftar here in Bangladesh, and I had biryani and pakora and other things.
Okay, don't go into detail now. Thank you very much.
But the point is, we have to follow our own heavens, our own celestial bodies above us. Is that what guides us? In the Quran, it says we are guided by these bodies. So therefore, we must look to them to seek their guidance.
Okay, so what are the next steps for NCS? Like, what do you want from the public who are listening and find your, arguments, points very compelling and completely, makes a lot of sense?
I think Samira has answered this question quite well, and there's just a couple of things I'll add to it. Samira earlier spoke about how actually it's not about saying somebody is right and somebody is wrong. Even the point I've made, I'm not trying to make an Islamic point. I'm trying to make almost a spiritual point about being connected to our nature, to be connected to our environment. But we're not saying that if you follow a calculation, if you follow Saudi, if you follow Morocco, we're not saying that's wrong. We're not even engaging in that conversation. That conversation has been in the community since before I was born, and it will not find a resolution. Instead, we are moving away from that conversation and saying, we live on the same street. I heard you earlier say mosque a mile away, less than that. There's mosques next door to one another where I live, and they don't do Eid on the same day. We are saying, can we move away from I'm better than you and you're better than me? And can we find a solution that we all feel comfortable with in the spirit of unity, in the spirit of compromise? Because of Samira's work and the other moonsighters around the country, because we've been moonsighting around the country for the last 4 years, for the first time in the history of Muslims living in the UK, we have an option. Shall we do moonsighting? And this is the least controversial option in all of the options, because we know it is historically a fact that this is what Prophet Muhammad SAW did. We know historically it's a fact which the early Muslims did up until today. It's not a solution just in the past. It's a solution used by contemporary Muslim communities, whether it's a government like Morocco or India or Pakistan, or it's a Muslim community living in as minorities like us in the UK, such as South Africa. It's a solution which has historical precedent, and it works today in other places. And for that reason, we think it is the solution that will bring unity to the UK. We don't blame anybody for what they've done in the past, because there was no moonsighting in the past. But through the hard efforts of people like Samira, the others who are watching the show, people from Glasgow right down to Cornwall, we've got enough of a spread now. I was joking a bit earlier about biryani, but when we first came to the UK, we didn't have halal food, we didn't have biryani. But as we progressed as Muslims living here, that facility became available. Once upon a time, there was no mosque. Once upon a time, there was no burial facility for Muslims. Once upon a time, could you believe it, there was no Ramadan Radio London. And now Ramadan is incomplete without Ramadan Radio London. And so I see it as the progressing story or the unfolding story of Muslims living in the UK. And now we have enough Muslims in enough locations, in locations that we might regard as remote, like Pembrokeshire, Jersey, Shetland Islands, Aberdeen, Devon, Somerset, Minehead. We've got Muslims living there, and they are helping us and uniting us. And only when we work together can we have this calendar. Just like Allah is for everybody, the moon is for everybody. So that is what I've come here to say, and I'll leave it at that.
Very well articulated, thank you. No, I mean, you make some great points. What motivates you and drives you to be part of this organization, and what motivates you to carry on, because you're all volunteers. Like, how do you do it?
What motivates you, Samira?
I think it's a powerful case, and the experience of it is beautiful. And the outcome, inshallah, will be even more wonderful. So I think every aspect of it, the experience of it, the people I work with, and what we hope to achieve. All are tick, 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 all beautiful.
I guess what motivates me is what inspired me first is I was in holiday in Cape Town, and Muslims have been living in Cape Town since the 17th century. They were indentured labor, taken many as political prisoners by the Dutch. And they were Muslims, and they began moonsighting there. When I went to Cape Town, I found out that they have moonsighting on the beach, and I'm talking thousands of people went down to the beach. It was for Eid, so they did iftar on the beach, they prayed, they had swings and slides for their kids. It was a really nice community environment. And perhaps what motivates me is community. So I was just like, wow. And I witnessed that the community are able to sight the moon or not sight the moon, but together decide whether they're going to do Eid or not on the subsequent day. And I just felt, why can't we have this in the UK? And that was the initial spark. But as the journey progresses, you meet people along the way. You get a little bit addicted to actually seeing the moon, and it's a happy experience. The word for new crescent in Arabic is hilal. As Samira mentioned, it's in the Quran. Yasalunaka anil ahilla is plural in the Quran. They ask you about the new crescent moons. The word hilal is an Arabic word related to an older Hebrew word. It can mean a flash of light. It can mean to shout out in joy and in praise in Arabic. The word hallelujah in Hebrew is the same word. It means to sing or to praise the name of God, Yahweh. And when people see the new crescent, especially I've seen for the first time, the joy that they feel, they shout out, oh, look, you can, oh my, that feeling is in the history of the word itself. And once you feel it, you think, why would I do anything different?
I heard you mention that, first time in many years, lots of mosques are interested. And is it because the congregation are now asking them, people are asking them, why are we doing Eids on different days? What's been happening? How have you been communicating with mosques and, to drive this forward?
We actually had a very large conference at the Royal Observatory with around 130 mosques, including some of the largest mosques in London that your viewers will know and be aware of. But it is your viewers and your listeners and the congregation who ultimately make the change. Some mosques say to us, you're right, everything you say we agree with. We're just nervous that if imagine we don't follow Saudi one year, or imagine we don't follow another country that we're used to, our congregation might not support us. But it's when the congregation go to the mosque and say, we want to be participating. This is sunnah. We want our children to be learning this. Once the congregation reassures their mosque leaders that they are supporting them, that is something which changes the perspective of the mosque. And some mosques this year, rather than me chasing them, they've been phoning me up. Can you come and speak to our congregation? Because they really like you and what you have to say. And the knowledge is not that hard. I'm actually a no one. I'm not like Alim. I'm wearing big Afghan hat today because I'm trying to, it's my father's hat, so I like to wear it. But it's just a hat. The knowledge is so easy. Anyone can learn it. A child can learn it. And when we get this, I hope in the future we can roll the knowledge out in madrasas. Our vision is that every child in the UK would have the basic astronomical knowledge. It's not hard to be able to sight the moon. And the next stage, maybe I'll give you a preview, is to do prayer times. How do you have the ability to intuitively look into the sky and understand what time it is to pray? That is a future project, inshallah.
Yeah, one thing at a time. Yeah. Have you got any sort of backlash or negativity from people about this?
Have you got any backlash, Samira?
Me, no. It's I mean, I think the conversations can get passionate, and people I think ultimately they just want unity. So sometimes if they see what you're doing is not headed towards that, the conversations can be difficult. But again, it's just dealing with everything with patience, with respect. It's important. Like, you can't want to do something and then along the way kind of argue your way to it. It's got to be done with people jumping on board with you and educating people. And I still get messages from family, literally, every Ramadan and Eid saying, when are you starting, Samira? And they don't necessarily always do the same as me, but it is a kind of, they know that I'm into it and I can give them an informed idea. So it's about education as well.
you know what, we're actually coming to an end. It's almost 2 o'clock. So we have our next show, which is the Humbly History Hour. So do stay tuned for that. But I think that's clarified a lot of things for me, and I hope everyone else feels the same. They feel a little bit more informed, and going forward, you can make, more informed decisions. And I think all I want, and what everybody wants, is unity in the UK when it comes to Ramadan, when it comes to Eid. So that our intentions are all the same. Thank you so much, Samira, for joining me today, and to you, Imad, as well. Thank you for joining us all the way from Bangladesh. I hope your fast went well. And hopefully we can have you guys on again, maybe next Ramadan, and then we can see how we've progressed, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Thank you so much. You've been a great host. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And also, if you want to find you guys, you are on all the socials. What did you say, Samira? Could you want to just quickly repeat it?
New Crescent Society. And coming up on Bank Holiday weekend, there's 2 trainings. So one's like an open invite. Everyone's invited on the 1st of May, and then there's another one on the 3rd of May. So the details and timings and how you register are all on New Crescent Society, either on Facebook or Instagram. We've also got a website, newcrescentsociety.org. So lots of content there that you can learn from and join in from.
Thank you so much. You've been listening to me, Sharmeen Ziauddin, on Let's Talk About It on Ramadan Radio. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.